Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy. Yeah. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time.
How the fuck you got me up this damn early, Jason?
It's time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Not as exciting as the Jester, but I will take it nonetheless. Thank you very much. Exciting show tonight, because guess what, folks? It's time for some football. All the BS prior, the percents to the benches, all the fun stuff we were doing before, it's all said and done. It's time to get serious business football time. So let's start with our introductions. Let's welcome to the studio, Ned. I called you Ned. Nick, you got Flandered Macaronis.
Old habits die hard, I guess. Hey, yes, it is Nick. You got Flandered Macaronis, and you can find me on Twitter at You Got Flandered.
Indeed, we're missing the Jester and the Juice tonight. They're getting primed up for our big show that'll be on Friday, which will be focused. I think we'll be playing that more on Saturday. That'll be more on our ranking stuff. So they're getting focused on that. So if you're listening to us today, it's Thursday. This is the last day, and I say the last day that you can sign up for our contest. So let's go over them one more time, just so if you've forgotten. We have the Commissioner Cooper's top 10 running back challenge. So send us your top 10 running backs before the start of kickoff tonight, and it'll be half PPR scoring. The person with the top 10 running back in points will get 2 tickets to see the Miami Dolphins and New York Jets with the TSS crew.
And remember, you can also join my contest, the premier contest. This is the ultimate fantasy lineup presented by Vision Coaching and Consulting Ultimate Team Challenge. There's no drops. There's no ads. This is real man football. Real man football. All you got to do is just send in your best lineup. Quarterbacks, receivers, running backs. And if you score the most points, half PPR rules, you win $300. But as always, remember, if you're from Miami and you can prove that you're from Miami and you win, you get the 305. 305.
Ooh-wee. I love that. I love the 305 one. That's the best. All right. Also, we have the Jester's Survivor Pool. It's a Survivor Pool. It's self-explanatory. $301. Listen, let me just say this. They are free contests. What the hell are you doing? Just put an entry in. You could win some money. What's the big deal? Get in today. Hurry your ass up. TSSFantasy.com. Nick, we got one more. Tell them about the other one.
Oh, if you think you're good and you think you can pick games like Vegas Sharks, you need to jump in the pool with OJ the Juice. Okay, you need to jump in the pool and have his pick'em pool. Best score, most points win. Most wins win. I jacked that all up. I apologize.
Nick was not ready for the Juice, and I hope he's listening tonight, because now, so next week, on Friday, he's going to bring it, hopefully. So now there's no doubt that Greg is going to bring it on Friday for sure.
Greg,
all right.
I deeply apologize. I was put on the spot, and I didn't do
well. It's really hard to talk about a pick'em pool contest. All right, so we're gonna move on now and talk about some headlines that happened today. In the news today, or it was not today, I believe it was yesterday, the day before. How about Latavius Murray getting dropped by the Saints? And listen, not a big, guy in fantasy, but he's one of those guys that you store on your roster. And if you just occasionally happen to have somebody you need to play on a bye week, he comes through every now and again. Had his best season actually last year, and basically was told, hey, do you want to take a pay cut? He said no, and they let him go right before the season. I mean, wow, what a crazy NFL world it is. Nick, what's your comments on that? And where do you think the best landing spot would be for Latavius?
Well, you said it last year. Okay, before I get into the contract, he had like 600 yards. Okay, on 400 some carries. He's a quality, solid backup. Okay, yeah. Last year he had 656 yards, four TDs. He's a quality, solid backup to have in your lineup. Not to get too much into it, but what happened, from my understanding, is the Saints were up against it with the cap. So they asked him, will you take a pay cut? I don't know if they asked him to restructure, but I don't know about you, but if my boss ever comes to me and says, hey, we're up against it, can you do the same job for the same amount of money? And especially that job, no. So, he had a right to say no, and they had a right to say, see you later. So it's what he wanted to do. He's putting his body through a lot. One play could end it all. So he has every right to say no, and he'll for sure find a landing spot somewhere. I think Jason asked me earlier, I think some spots where he could end up Atlanta. Their running back situation is not good. He could also end up in LA at the Chargers. Their spot is not good. And for that matter, neither is the Rams. So I think those would be the top 3 landing spots for him. And the Ravens as well. They need help, but we're going to get into that a little bit later on in the next segment. But I think those would be the top spots, and who knows, maybe Minnesota might come calling again, and maybe San Francisco.
It's interesting because, of course, the first place that everyone goes to would be the Ravens. Like, that's the first, obviously with the injury situation. It's interesting to hear you say, though, Atlanta. And the reason I say that is, doesn't it always seem like when guys get kind of burned sometimes, they're like, how can I stick it back to him? Let me go to the division rival. So actually, that's really interesting. You said that. We might see Latavius in Atlanta. Now that you've brought that up, I'd actually like to see that. Not for nothing. So.
Well, also don't forget too, they got Mike Davis as their starter, and Mike Davis isn't proven. And then they got Cordell Patterson. He's not proven. He's been in the league, I think, 7 or 8 years. So he's more of a receiver out of the backfield. What would Matt Ryan want better than to hand it off to a guy who's dependable? He's available 99% of the time, and he can catch it out of the backfield. I think Atlanta might be a prime spot for him.
I like that. You heard it here first. All right. Also in the news, how about Le'Veon Bell signing? I know that I've seen in particular our league, someone kind of jumped on that already. But he was signed to their practice squad. So that I found interesting. He wasn't signed to the team fully. Is he in the best shape? Maybe not. So there could be, there's some interesting things with Le'Veon Bell. Of course, if it's early, you might want to take a flyer on him if there's a guy you didn't really care about. But I will just say, we might, get into this a little later. We've gotten a lot of emails and stuff about trades and things. You just drafted your team. Relax. The season hasn't even begun yet. So, folks, I'm going to tell you that right off the jump. The season hasn't, unless you have an injury that happened. Relax. Everything's going to be all right. Let's let it play out. All right. So I'll get on that rant later. What are your thoughts on Le'Veon Bell signing? Are you somebody you want to take a flyer on?
No, I think at this point, Le'Veon Bell is just a name. At this point, he's a sexy name. That's we got Le'Veon Bell. Well, Kansas City had Le'Veon Bell, and that didn't work out too well. The reason why I believe, like you said, to the point is he got signed to the practice squad. he's a late flyer. He's late in his career. He may be a little out of shape. He doesn't know the playbook. And they did the same thing to him as they did to Des Bryant. And not for nothing, I thought Des Bryant played pretty well last year, given his age and the spots that he was put in. So this is a wait and see. Now, as far as you guys, in the draft, you want to jump on that. I get it. I mean, everyone. I think I did it last year with the guy who's always suspended and picked up by
Josh Gordon.
Seattle. Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, you get burned, but you don't do like a third or fourth round pick on him. Like, ooh, I'm going to steal him. No, you take him at like your last pick. But
right.
With this backfield, he could play by week 3. You never know.
Yeah, that's very true. And, again, we talked about a pass catching back. That's what he does too. So it could be interesting, could be a good fit. Again, but if Latavius Murray ends up showing up, I mean, they might end up just dropping him at that point. And I think also a fair point, something you brought up about him with the Chiefs. Andy Reid was a big champion of Le'Veon Bell and still really didn't get much out of him. So I think that's very telling also. Let's also talk about now we're going to talk about this a little more tomorrow with Dr. Miller or on the next show. But Austin Eckler did not participate in practice today with a hamstring injury. So, that could spell trouble. And, if you heard me in the offseason, I am not high on Eckler. And that is exactly why right there. So just a heads up for those Eckler owners, and if you're not aware yet. So I just want to make everyone aware of that. Nick, any thoughts on Eckler's injury status?
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it's a little this early.
Right.
Telling you, Eckler's to me is only valuable in PPR. That's it, because he gets maybe 300 yards rushing the season, and then all he gets all his points on receptions and then yards after the catch. But no, I am not surprised, and that's why I said Latavius Murray would be an excellent addition in LA, because Justin Jackson is on the fringe, and then Josh Kelly is Josh Kelly. So you know what you're going to get with him. So that's why he's got 5 viable options he can go to. And if I were him, I'd much rather play in LA than in Baltimore, because the weather is a lot nicer and the girls are a lot hotter. I'll tell you that. Sorry,
yeah, all right.
I'm just saying how it is.
And I actually I think just a better offense in general. I think that would be the better fit for him. And yeah, he would definitely, I think, would have a decent season. And also in the news, Carson Wentz, for those Colts fans, or anyone has anyone on the Colts, looks like he's going to be a full go, believe it or not. I wanted to get your take on something real quick before we're going to head to break right after this. But something real quick, I heard the Eagles ownership say today about Jalen Hurts and drafting. He was talking about, picking the Hurts pick. And he made a comment about Wentz. And I apologize if I'm misquoting. But it was something to the effect of that we had so many playoff games, I think it was 4, during Carson Wentz's time, and we needed a backup for every one of them. That was his comment. So I was like kind of a dig at Carson, I thought, but also kind of backing up the Jalen stuff. So I just want to get your quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, as you were explaining, as you were informing our listeners, I'm looking up on bleedinggreennation.com. And yeah, Howie's reaching. He's just trying to justify himself. I think, personally, I still think Howie should have been gone and Doug Peterson should still be there, especially when Jeffrey Lurie goes, did Doug Peterson deserve to get fired? No, but I did it anyway. Well, that just tells you you're not very smart. Okay, you're getting a little real cocky. But Howie screwed things up big time. So I just think he's just trying to bag on Carson, and it's just sour grapes at this point. It's kind of like, whenever you break up with somebody and you say, she wasn't that good anyway.
Right. She wasn't Carson apparently wasn't that good in bed. So it just so everyone knows. All right, we're going to head.
She's still living rent free in your head.
Apparently still got some wounds there. All right, let's go to a quick break. Last time we're promoting our damn contests.
Hey, football fans, it's Commissioner Cooper from TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. As such, we want to take 2 of our listeners to see the Miami Dolphins play the New York Jets in Week 15 with us. All you have to do is visit tssfantasy.com and enter to Commissioner Cooper's Top 10 Running Back Challenge. Send us who your top 10 running backs will be by the start of the season, and the person with the most points will win. It's simple and free. You can listen to us anywhere you podcast and Unhinged Radio at 8 a.m. TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
All right, so it's Thursday night football, ladies and gentlemen. It is finally here. Hallelujah. I hope everyone is as excited as I am. We have a pretty good matchup indeed. I mean, I know I read an article earlier today. It was actually from somebody from Belly Up, our podcast network. And it was to the effect that this wasn't a good game to start with. And I have to actually totally disagree. I think you obviously have the champs come in. I think they're rolling, and you have a team last year in the Cowboys that, despite if not a Dak Prescott injury, very well could have been in the NFC Championship and therefore the Super Bowl, not for nothing. So I do like this game, and they got a lot of interesting matchups, and especially for fantasy. We're going to dive into that. Let's talk about first. Let me just get a quick from you, just real quick. I don't need analysis on the game, but let's just get, who do you think wins it?
Oh, Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay wins by 9.
Yeah, I actually think so too, about the same. I think it'll be kind of back and forth for a little bit, and then I think you'll see Tampa, kind of assert itself towards the end of the game. And I think the big difference, though, and now we're going to get into the fantasy part of it, is the Cowboys defense. And, unfortunately, they were bad last year. They did some stuff in the offseason and improve it. But what I've seen in the preseason thus far, they look like the same old Cowboys. Now, it might take some time, of course, for people to gel and things like that, but it doesn't look good. When Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars in the last preseason game are making you look silly, I think you got issues on defense. And not that Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be bad, but he looked like, not Dan Marino for all intents and purposes.
Right,
so
exactly.
All right. So, that to me was interesting. In this game itself, let's just talk about the matchups. Let's go with the Buccaneers because we're starting with them. I'm going to just give you my quick, what I think. I think for Brady, for his night, we're going to be looking at about 350 yards and about 3 TDs, maybe a pick, possibly, but I just don't see that happening with the Cowboys defense. So 3 or 4 touchdowns it could be, but I would say around 354 yards and 3 TDs. I think that's about what you're going to get. A big night for Brady against that Cowboys defense. Nick, what's your thoughts on Brady? Where do you think he's going to be at?
I think Brady's going to be jacked up for this game. It's the first game back post Super Bowl. He could be entering, quite possibly, could be his last year. He's going to ball out. Now, for me personally, because I have Brady and Mike Evans on my team, I would love it if he did go for 350, 3 touchdowns, all to Mike Evans, and maybe sneak over the goal line maybe one time for me. So
yeah, he's good for one of those or 2 a game. That's for sure.
Never been against the old man's strength. I think he's going to be good. And as far as the Dallas defense, man, they paid Ferrari money and got a Chevy Cavalier. Now, if anybody drives a Chevy Cavalier, I apologize, but you're definitely paying for a Ferrari to drive a Chevy Cavalier. So I think they're going to keep up for a while, and then they're going to peter out as always.
Yeah, so if you're listening tomorrow, go to tssfantasy.com. Please check out our rankings. I have Brady this week as my number 9 quarterback. Not something I think I'd see him every week at, but definitely in this matchup against the porous Dallas secondary. Now, the other interesting part of this matchup to me, and I think it's really interesting at where these receivers are drafted. And we have Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, and you got Antonio Brown, right? So you got 3 good receivers, that I feel like is the biggest problem when it comes to owning these guys, because you have guys that need to eat. Mike Evans he's going to be, usually last year he played out to be like the touchdown guy. Chris Godwin was kind of injured last year, so we didn't get a lot out of him. And quite frankly, not a whole ton out of Antonio Brown either. So like I said, this to me, I think is very interesting. I would, of course, go with the higher guy if I'm looking at the 3 receivers. My guess would be Mike Evans would have the bigger night. I do have him projected with 110 yards, and I have him with the 2 touchdowns, actually, is what I have. I also have Chris Godwin having a good night as well. I actually have him leading in yards with 130 and a touchdown. And then I think I got Antonio Brown with about 66 yards in the air, and then I believe the rest was, I think the other touchdown I got was to Gronk. So Antonio Brown, I'm not so high on, but only because it's where he fits in this offense. I liked what I saw to Chris Godwin in the preseason, and like I said, Mike Evans was their touchdown magnet. Of course, he's a big guy, and that's what it should be. So, your thoughts on the Bucs receivers?
I'm pretty much in agreement with you. The only thing is, this is a contract year for Chris Godwin, so they might be forcing him the ball a little bit more. He's going to say, I'm open, and Tom's going to be like, you have 4 guys on you. I'm open. But Antonio Brown might, I think, as the season rolls on, and if Godwin's health, he gets hurt, he's going to start stealing them catches. And like you said, there's Gronk. And then, oh, by the way, don't forget, we got Fournette and we got Rojo behind us. So, I mean, it's a stacked offense, which is great for actual football, but for fantasy, it might not be as well as you think it is. I do still think that Evans is gonna be your touchdown monster. He's gonna be your red zone target. He's 6'4", over well over 215. So he's gonna be your stud. And yeah, I see him getting about 100 yards, TD or 2. I think at this point in his career, Antonio Brown is more of a slot receiver, short yardage and a yak guy. So he's going to go over the middle, catch those 7-8 yard slants, and then just truck it up the field. So I think he's going to get under 50 yards to start the season off. And then as the season goes on, they're going to progress. And then your deep threats are going to be Evans and Godwin. And then, of course, Gronk.
So my rankings coincide to my predictions. Thank God. I will make sure I did that right. Mike Evans, I have as my number 10 receiver this week. I have Chris Godwin not too far behind him at 14, and then Antonio Brown all the way down at number 48 this week. So again, we have to see how this offense plays out. That's just how I see it playing out. Could be right, could be wrong. And what's really funny is if you're listening to us on Unhinged Radio, this is literally on Friday morning. So you're hearing us predict what already happened. So I'm probably eating crow right now, which is really funny. Can't wait to hear that. All right, yes, sir.
No, I was just saying I had Brady at 9, and then I had Mike Evans at 9, and Chris Godwin at 15, and then I had Brown. I don't even have him ranked in my top 40.
All right. What can Brown do for you? Apparently nothing, according to Mr. Flanders. All right. Now let's go to tight end. We talked about Gronk. I said, the rest maybe a TD to him. Again, it's early in the season, so he's going to should be healthy. I talked about him in the offseason. It depends on what Gronk comes out. Did he work hard in the offseason? Because I saw him last year when he first was coming on getting hit. He was getting hit down low, and he was getting up like he was like, nah, I'm not feeling this. So it really just depends on how he worked in the offseason, how he comes back. And I'm sure with Tom and winning a Super Bowl, that might motivate him. I got him this week as my 13th tight end. I just don't see a ton of yardage volume, but, maybe a touchdown for him. What are your thoughts on Gronk?
I have him at number 14. And I see him as a red zone vulture. And I think they're going to throw in Brate. And if I'm not too I think they're going to throw in Brate in there. But I actually have O.J. Howard coming back. And I have him ranked at 28. I think.
Oh, wow.
I think he's going to be the guy in between the 20s. And then they're going to give it to Gronk from the 20 in. That's just my prediction. Again, we'll see Friday morning, but I could be right. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
I feel like I keep hearing that name, OJ Howard. And I just be remiss to say, I mean, haven't we been down this road 100 times with this? I mean, I can't do it. I'm not going to go down it again. I mean, it's one of those things. Like even my buddies who are big Dolphins fans, they call me, they get all pumped up during the season, before the season, and I'm like, listen, I'm not doing this again. We're not going down this road again. I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to temper my expectations. And then if something exciting happens, then I'll be happily surprised. So, all right, let's go to the running backs. Now, you did talk about Leonard Fournette and Rojo. Listen, I'll be honest with you. There is nothing I like with them, even with their play in Dallas. I just don't like, the running back situation there. We don't know how much of rotation we're going to see. So I'm just not liking much. I got Fournette 31. I got Ronald Jones 47. So I really don't see much out of the running game for this. Yeah, they're really low for me, probably lower than it should be. I'm just not big on that rushing attack. Where you got them at?
Well, apparently I think of them much higher than you do. But the fact that that they do split carries and most usually they go with the hot hand. Who's ever running the ball the hottest, that's when that gets the ball. And it's usually Rojo. Okay. So with that being said, I have Rojo at 27 and I got Fournette at 34.
Okay. Well, yeah, you think of them a little higher than I do.
Much. Fournette's the bruiser,
right?
Because, dude, when he's healthy and he runs behind those pads, good luck. It's
right,
like him
sure.
and Derrick Henry. Just good luck. Just hope and pray. And then, of course, when you got Rojo rolling, he says the head coach over there says, "I love me some Rojo."
Hey, exactly. And that's why it's scary to invest in either one of these guys. It's the same with the receivers. It's just like hard to guess who's going to be that guy. So it's frustrating as a fantasy owner. Great if you're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, of course, but tough as a fantasy owner to predict which guy is going to be the one that steps up that day. So that's what the little frustration is there with those guys. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Dallas.
Hey, TSS family, it's your boy, Greg OJ the Juice. Are you interested in trying to beat the boys at TSS? Well, here's your opportunity. Get ready to dive in and join us in our Pick'em Juice World Fantasy Pool. And the best part, it's free. Here's the chance to win some paper and beat the crew at TSS. Sign up now on our website at tssfantasy.com. See if you can swim with the big boys. TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
All right, let's start with the Dallas offense, and we'll go with Mr. Dak Prescott. I'm high on Dak to start the season. You heard me talk about that offense, and they're going to do well. I'm just not. I'm a little afraid of this game for him, and not afraid that he's going to get hurt or anything like that, or he's going to have a horrible performance. I just don't think it's going to be a gangbusters one. We're talking about a major injury that you're coming back from. I think a good example is Tua. We've talked. Of course, if you've heard me talk about Tua to death, but the fact is, it's the same situation. You're coming back from a major injury. You just can't help but be a little timid. It doesn't matter how much full go you get at practice, because those guys aren't gunning for you like the guys in the other team are, especially, when the game's on the line and, there's pride, there's all kind of things. So listen, I'm a little nervous about his first night out. It's a big night, but he was gangbusters last year. I mean, before he got injured, it was impressive what Dak was doing. So I'm kind of like in between with him, but I do have him in my top 10. So he's got a top 10 rating for me, number 10, right below Brady. for this matchup, because I do think these guys might take it back a little bit, back and forth for a little bit. What are your thoughts on Dak and where you got him ranked?
Yeah, as an Eagles fan, when you grow up, the first phrase that you learn is either "Go Eagles" or "Go Birds," and EAGLES. The next phrase you learn is "Dallas sucks." But, and I apologize to all of our Dallas fans, but I do love Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is a very special talent. I think if once he gets his health all back together, that's his physical and his emotional and his mental health. I think he's going to be great because physically he's fine. The knee's fine. I mean, the ankle's fine. I think it's now all up in his head. Am I going to get hurt again? Am I going to get hurt again? And I heard from somewhere, I don't know if it was another show or if it was from we're talking. The theory is he's not stepping into the throw, so he's using his shoulder too much. So that's why we think that's how he incurred the shoulder injury. But beyond all that, he's facing a tough Bucs defense. So my prediction, you said not too stellar. I think he goes around 275, 280 in the air. I think a bulk of that's going to be garbage time at the end, and maybe 2-2.
Yeah, I forgot to put that out there. Yeah, I have him at 280 with I have him with 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. And then of course the rest of course going to be on the ground with Zeke. But I think it's going to be a good night for Dak, but just not going to be that stellar night that we're used to because as you mentioned, you're facing a very tough Bucs defense. And that's interesting you say that because we will have Dr. Miller on the next show. I'm going to ask him about that because that totally makes sense to me. Talk about mechanics and, just the nature of injuries and, how your body heals and how you adjust to things. That actually makes perfect sense what you're saying. And, it'd be interesting to talk to Dr. Miller about that. And actually very interesting to see how what that does for Dak going forward this season. All right, let's go.
Going to the game.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go on to the running backs. We'll talk about Mr. Zeke Elliott. Is it time for him to eat or what? Last year he did, like we talked about this on our preseason shows, he did pretty decent with Andy Dalton at the helm. So can you imagine now with Dak there, no reason to stack the box. It's going to be an open field for Zeke again. And he was having a good year also when Dak was there. So my prediction for Zeke tonight, for tonight would be is 123 yards on the ground. He's going to have 40 yards in the air, and I do have him for a touchdown. That's what I have a good night for Zeke. What's your prediction for Zeke tonight, Nick?
Okay. I do want to go back. I did have Dak ranked at 8. Right now I have Zeke Elliott ranked at number 11. I just have him out of my top 10. And one thing right now is he going to be the guy he used to be? He's got some tread on his tires. Also coming into this game, they don't have Zach Martin. They're number 1 lineman. So again, Jason, you just mentioned he did it all. He did all that with Andy Dalton. He's got 99% of his line back, but you're missing Zach Martin. He's your all-pro on that line. But I agree with you. He'll have about in between 90 to 110 yards. He'll maybe have 25 receiving. I'm gonna guess maybe a little flare out of the backfield, and then he could score a touchdown. But like I said, I have him at 11. And then don't forget about Pollard back there. I mean, when Pollard gets eight carries a game, but he's running downhill full tilt every time he gets it because he knows he don't have much opportunities. So he's going to run the ball as hard as he can. So they'll have a good running game tomorrow night, but it's going to be Zeke all the way, 80 to 110 yards, 25 in the air, and a touch.
All right, so I have to apologize to our listeners and let you guys know something. And I don't know if anyone picked up on it. Good catch. If not, I'm going to call us both out. both of us have Dak having an average kind of night, and both of us have him in the top 10. So I'm going to let you guys know now, Dak is going to be dropping in my rankings since we were just talking about it. All right, so let's go on to the receivers for Dallas. We got CeeDee Lamb, the up and newcomer, Amari Cooper, old vet that's been there, does his thing. He's nasty. And Michael Gallup, he's been a lot of talk about Michael Gallup this offseason. We have Blake Jarwin there as well. So let's go into that. I currently, with CeeDee Lamb, actually, and I forgot to mention Dak. Dak is my 9th running back this week, my bad. And that's actually accurate from what.
Dak is your 9th running back?
9th running back this week, yes.
Dak Prescott.
Oh, did I say Dak? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Zeke.
you did.
Sorry. I want to go back to the last thing we were talking about. I forgot to mention his rank. All right, we're getting this down there. All right, so let's go to the receivers. And we're talking about like I said, CeeDee Lamb, the up-and-comer. I have him ranked probably the highest this week out of the trio. I have him number 12. Again, I think, stretching the field, making things happen. CeeDee Lamb's going to be your guy. I have Amari Cooper at 17. He's not that much farther down. I think it'd be between the both of them. You could see some decent production. Because, again, Blake Jarwin is not the biggest threat at tight end. So I think you're going to see a lot more to the receivers. And I do end up having Michael Gallup down there at number 50. He just made my top 50 list. So he could have an average night, kind of like the Antonio Brown thing. It's kind of basically how I rank the receivers for Dallas. Basically kind of the same thing. Nick, what are your thoughts on those receivers?
I have about where you are. I think it's now CD's. It's only his second year, but you can clearly see the changing of the guard here. Amari's going to hand the keys over to him. He just runs those seam routes and those deep routes. He's awesome. They drafted him, and Philly could have had him. Philly could have had Jefferson and Lamb, and they whiffed on both. But CeeDee Lamb, I don't. Now we said Dak's numbers. We said about he's going to get about 280. So we can't say that they're going to get really high numbers. I'd say each receiver. I say Cooper and Lamb get in between 60 and 80 yards. Maybe one of them gets a touchdown. I don't think both of them will. And then I have CeeDee Lamb at ranked 11, and I have Cooper at 13. Cooper is now your possession receiver, and Lamb and Gallup are your deep receivers. Where Gallup only gets about maybe about 8 targets a game, and it gets maybe about five catches. And then what you said back there, Jarwin, he's at this point he's really a non-factor. Until we see something more of him, we can't really speak of him because he only played one game last year, and we saw he had 12 yards.
Right.
So with that attack, 60 to 80 yards and 1 touchdown for all 3 receivers.
Yeah, I do think one of them is going to eat. And that's why I have them both kind of at least in the top 20, because I think one of those guys is going to come out of that night having a huge night. Like I said, I lean towards CeeDee Lamb, but I don't think Amari Cooper is going to be that far off. So I think, that's the reason why I have them ranked high, because I think, we talked about him having a kind of an average night, but I think all that average night's going to go through them as far as receiving goes. I do have Blake Jarwin, 22. Like I said, not much to talk about with him just yet. Who knows? Might be a breakout star. We'll see. We got to play this thing out a little bit because we are all just guessing, aren't we? And going to the defense really quickly, I don't even have the Cowboys ranked. I do have the Bucks at 13. But that means if you're in a 12-man league, like you should have a better defense because there's a quite better defense options this week. Like I said, this is a high-powered offense. Now, you did bring up a good point, however, with Zach Martin being out. With Sue there, I mean, they could put some pressure in and make some plays happen in the defense. So, that could elevate them a bit and could be something to target. Any thoughts on Blake Jarwin or the defenses?
Blake Jarwin, no, not pretty much a non-point. Sorry, Blake. I'm sure we'll be talking about you at least halfway through the season. But oddly enough, I have the Bucks ranked number 1 overall because
This week?
This week, no, I'm sorry. Overall, I have them ranked number 1. But this week, I'd probably put them at around 8 or 9, just given the fact that the high-powered Dallas offense. But like I said, I don't think that the Dallas offense can overcome the Bucks defense. So I'm going to predict Bucks defense gets 5 sacks and a fumble recovery.
Yeah, not to give too much away for tomorrow. Man, I guess somebody just drove by with a loud motorcycle. Not to give too much away for tomorrow, but I have 49ers as my number 1 D. They're playing Detroit. So yeah, they're going to eat. That's going to be some eating. All right, so let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to review some games in week 1 that we like and some matchups that we like going into the big weekend. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Freddie the Jester from the TSS Fantasy Crew, and I'm here to invite you clowns to my survival pool contest, where the last man standing will be the king of the court. What better way to kick off the holiday season by joining my contest and winning the Jester's Ransom? Go on to our website at tssfantasy.com to join our slew of contests, and remember, we are TSS Fantasy and we are the fantasy show of the people.
All right, week 1 is upon us, and ladies and gentlemen, I could not be more excited. Listen, there's some great matchups. We're going to kind of go through some, see how much time we got left, but we'll go through some of the games and some things that we like in them. I'm going to start, and I'll start with the Seahawks at the Colts. So this, to me, is a great fantasy matchup, some very interesting matchups as well. I definitely would like to see Russell Wilson and this offense and what they can do with, again, they didn't do anything with the line that kind of struggled last year. Going against an improved Colts defense in Indianapolis. And listen, whenever you're in a football pool, and I don't know if I'm the only one that does this, but literally in the first week, I generally, unless it's a real superior team, I usually tend to lean on the home teams because the fact of the matter is it's a big buildup. It's the home opener. Everyone's excited. And we're excited for the season to start. And usually those are the teams that do well. So again, you got the home opener with the Colts. You got to see Carson Wentz in this new offense. We got Jonathan Taylor. We've talked a lot about him. Michael Pittman Jr. now could step up a lot in this. That's the guy I would look for in this particular matchup, actually, since we're talking about it. He's the guy I like here. No T.Y. Hilton. And I think they're going to have to throw the football. They're going to have to stay with Russell. They're going to be throwing the football. We know this. So I like my big guy in this particular matchup I like is Michael Pittman Jr. Nick, is there anyone in this matchup you like?
Well, yeah, I do. I like Carson Wentz, but before I get into that, the line on Seattle is -2.5, and the over/under is 50. Now that's pretty good because Seattle defense is not that good, and especially on the road, they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. That was 5, 6, 8 years ago. So
sure.
they're not the defense that they used to be. You always have the factor of the West Coast team coming east. At this point, it's coming to the Midwest, so it's halfway. I expect the Wentz to put on a big show, especially at home. The first game, he wants to prove, hey, you went out and got me for a reason. I do think the Colts do edge Seattle by a field goal.
Yeah, like I said, I do like in the game itself. I do like the Colts overall to win it. All right, what matchup do you like? Let's give me a game. Let's talk about a game. What do you got?
Oh well,
Put you on the spot.
Let's go. Let's go to Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
Big surprise, but great matchup though. Let's hear.
But then I want to go to the Dolphins at New England.
Oh, I'll be doing that one, but please go ahead.
Right. This game, man, they got Buffalo at -6.5. Over under is 48.5. It's going to be I think it's going to be a tough game. But I do honestly expect, you're going to hate me, I expect Buffalo to come out of this game, not by much. I say by 4, just because they're at home. Number one, number two, they got the fans behind them. And
all right, but let's focus on the fantasy aspect. Who do you like in fantasy in this matchup?
Oh, well, in fantasy, I love Josh Allen, because if Josh Allen can't throw it, damn it, he's going to run it. So I think he's going to have about 25 points this week. And on the other side of the ball, I'm really looking forward to see if the Steelers defense can stop them. So yeah, indeed. I want to see Josh versus Pittsburgh.
All right, so I'm going to give you a guy right now that I want everyone to take note of. He's not even in my top 50, so again, I'm going off the bank here. But you want to talk about a sleeper in this matchup? Name it, Emmanuel Sanders. Somebody to watch out for in this matchup. Might want to get to the Steelers. He's sneaky good, and Josh Allen is good too. So we'll see. Oh, and by the way, maybe no TJ Watt too. So there could be that factor. He's for sure playing. Okay. All right. Well, either way, big game. Good call on that one. I do like it. But let's stick with the fantasy side of it. All right. I'm going to go next to the Vikings at Bengals. Now, this is an interesting matchup. A lot of big fantasy stars in this. Justin Jefferson, obviously, big season last year. Jamar Chase, a lot of expectation. Want to see what's going on there. Joe Burrow coming off the injury. Want to see what happens with him. There's a lot of good matchups here. If there's going to be the sneaky guy out of this one, I like Tyler Boyd. I like Tyler Boyd to be, because I think with the Cincinnati Bengals right now, they're just kind of like, we're not sure who that guy is going to be. Tyler Boyd kind of didn't fit that role, he didn't fit expectations last year. I like to see him bounce back this year, and I think he's going to be the receiver for game one. That's my little sneaky pick for this week. What's your thoughts on this game? Anyone in particular you're looking to eye up?
Well, we have the fat, right? We got the Thielens, we got the Cooks, we got the Jeffersons. I want to see their new toy. I want to see how Chris Herndon fits into the offense. I want to see if he gets in the end zone. I like him. I think he'll be as comparable to Kyle Rudolph as they can get. So I'm gonna look for him, and I want to see if Kirk Cousins can keep his head in the game throughout the entire game, because he has a potential to unravel. Now he's gonna get his air yards because he's got one of the best receiving cores in the game. So my thing is I'm gonna focus on Chris Herndon.
Yeah, that's a good call. That is interesting. Interesting. So again, this is why we love fantasy. This is why I fell in love with it in the first place. I love football. I love enjoying it. I mean, again, Vikings, Bengals, not normally a game I'd watch, but definitely going to watch it now. So much intrigue in this game. It's really interesting. All right, give me another game you like.
Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to steer clear of this one because that was a homer game. Let's go with the Cardinals at the Titans.
All right, let's go with it. Who do you like in that? What's somebody you like that you want to see do well, or maybe somebody we're not thinking about in that game that you like?
Oh, I'm gonna go with my tight end sleeper with Fursker.
Fursker.
I like the guy. He's tough. He's gritty. He's another 15 yards and in guy. And Arizona's defense is not that good. So I think he's going to get a couple of those sneaky touchdowns. And, of course, I want to see how Julio fits in his offense in a regular season. I think he's going to go deep. I think he's going to go big time. So I'm going to take Titans big. I'm going to take them by 14.
All right, we're the fantasy though. The fantasy. We're moving on to that. All right, I like again, big stars in this one. This is a good matchup. Obviously, Derrick Henry got, like you talked about. We could go yada 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 all day. Great matchup for fantasy. So good call on that one as well. I'm going to bring this one out, and only because I have this person ranked in my top 10 this week that you probably wouldn't think it. It's the Eagles at the Falcons. I have Jalen Hurts in my top 10 this week. And the reason why is Atlanta's defense. It's not good at all. And again, neither is Philly's. So, and Atlanta's offense, I'm getting confused so much. Atlanta's offense actually is pretty decent. So what I actually see in this game is some fantasy bonanza going on in this one. I like this matchup to be a good fantasy matchup for a lot of people. Jalen Hurts is the guy, though. I think in this matchup is going to run around on the turf. I think it's going to be a big game for him overall in fantasy. What are your thoughts?
On the Eagles and the Falcons.
Yes, sir. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah. Overall, I'm interested to see Jalen Hurts. I want to see how he can run it and gun it, and see if he can put some points on the board. Because, like you said, the Falcons' defense is almost non-existent. Just as Tom Brady. So I think the biggest point scorer in this game is going to be Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to have about 26 points.
I like you. All right. We don't have much time, but I do want to talk about real quick. We're going to the 4 o'clock games real quick. Let's talk about this juicy America's team, Miami Dolphins, going up to the New England Patriots, to the newly crowned Mac Jones. Listen, I have watched America basically sway. I've been watching Good Morning Football every morning, and they're like, Tua, the Dolphins, Brian Flores, and this and that, and they make a change in New England. And I watched it the other day, and all of a sudden Miami's out of the playoffs. What playoffs? After one switch to a QB quarterback? Are you freaking joking me? So, but anyway, let me get past that. In this matchup, fantasy-wise, let me get back to the fantasy. Here we go. It was my fault. I do want to see Jalen Waddle. I think he might have a really good game in this matchup because there's no Will Fuller. You still have Parker there. He's going to be the guy that's going to stretch the field for you and be that big target. And we have tons of speed with Albert Wilson, all of that. I love Jalen Waddle in this game, and I also like Mike Gesicki. We're going to see the Dolphins win big in this one. That I am going to just say real quick. All right, what are your thoughts on this game? You wanted to bring it up earlier.
I did. You know, and you stole my guy too. I was going to talk about Gesicki, but that's fine. I have others. No problem. The one guy I want to see is everyone's super sleeper, Jakobi Meyers. I want to see what Jakobi Meyers brings to the table. And I want to see him against Xavier Howard. I want to see that matchup right there. And then nice. I want to see my super sleeper, Ramondre Stevenson. I want to see what he can do splitting time with Damian Harris. So those are the matchups I want to see. I want to see Jakobi Meyers. I want to see how well this boy is.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. So I think he'll at least Myers. I think he'll get maybe 12 to 16 points, and we can give Stevenson 8 points.
I think that's way too much. I think Howard's going to lock his ass down, so I don't think we got much to worry about that at all. And let's real quick, we'll go to, there's two really good matchups. The Sunday night's good with the Rams and the Bears. We don't have much time, but I just wanted to get to the Ravens matchup. And the reason why is I actually have Lamar Jackson, don't want to give too much away, as my number one QB this week. Going against that Raiders team, we don't know much about them, but they don't seem like much of a threat. And I like Lamar to go crazy in this particular matchup. So that's my final thoughts on the Monday Nighter. Nick, any thoughts on the Monday night game? Anybody you're interested to see in that?
There's going to be 2 stars in this game, other than Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and Darren Waller. Because that's all offense that each team has. It goes to the quarterback and it goes to the tight end. Who's David Carr throwing to? Brian Edwards and Henry Rugg. Sir drops a lot. So again, it's gonna go through Derek Carr, and it's going to go through Darren Waller. And and on their side of the ball, it's Jackson and Edwards because Bateman's out. Okay. And then they don't have many other receivers. So
what about, just real quick, you don't think Gus Edwards? I think he's going to might have a decent game as well. I mean, he is their only option. So what do you think he's going to have a decent game?
I think he will if they get far enough down towards the goal line.
All right. Well, you're not. Where do you have him?
Ravens got a much better defense than Las Vegas.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So that's why I think Gus Edwards actually might have a better day because I do see the Ravens probably jumping out on them early, and then their defense just kind of picking Carr apart the rest of the game, and then setting them up basically to run the football the rest of the game. I mean, that's just kind of like the formula that might be set up. But that's why I have Lamar high because again, who do they run through mostly is him. So I think he benefits from that also, even though it is end up being a ground control, you'll probably end up seeing him running the ball quite a lot too. So I like that. I like that matchup for him overall. And if Carr can, work out some magic, then Lamar might have to pull some things out too. So it'll be fun to watch and interesting to watch. Plus, when you're in fantasy, who doesn't love the Monday Night Miracle? I mean, if you don't love the Monday Night Miracle, I don't know what's wrong with you. All right, so let's take one final break for our last contest. The last time we're playing these damn commercials. So the last time you got to hear it. Last one. Here we go.
Hey, football fans. Do you think you got what it takes to win our money? This is Nick at You Got Flander from TSS Fantasy. Go to tssfantasy.com and enter our free contest. Go to Vision Coaching and Consulting Ultimate Team Challenge. Submit your ultimate fantasy lineup. There are no drops, there are no ads, and winner takes all. Half PPR scoring applies. All entries must be submitted by the kickoff of week 1 for your chance to win our $300. It's literally that easy. Enter today. And remember, we are the fantasy show of the people.
That's right, TSS family. We appreciate you. And I just want to be remiss to say there's a couple of things I had to close out tonight with. We are now on YouTube. So if you'd like to check us out, go to TSS Fantasy on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. That's something new. I didn't want to advertise it yet, so we're just getting used to the technology. So again, my bad on that. And again, today is the last day. Go to TSSfantasy.com and enter. We got 4 contests. Why not take a shot at it? You play the lottery. It's the same thing. Who knows what might happen? It'll be fun anyway, regardless, because it's just fun to play games. And, hey, if you can win some money off it, the better. All right, I want to close out tonight, too. I wanted to give a quick shout out to a friend of the show, DJ Prophet. He does lots of good stuff for us. He does little intro songs for us. But I'm going to close out tonight with his song he made for our draft. I played it on the last show. It was kind of abrupt. So I just want to know where it was coming from. Our theme was the boat, and he made us a cool song to go with it. So let's close out tonight. Due respect to DJ Prophet. We appreciate you, and we are out.
Do, do, do.